जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अर्चिन। सैटरडे आफ्टरनून है और जनरल नारायण हमारे साथ हैं। लेट्स ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड दुनिया में हो क्या रहा है, बिकॉज जो भी कह लीजिए, इतनी सारी वॉर्स, हर कॉन्टिनेंट में एक वॉर चल रही है। और कल नॉर्थ कोरिया से जो थोड़ा सा डिस्प्ले दिखा, उससे तो और डर लगना शुरू हो गया कि यार यहां पर भी एक जगह शुरू हो रहा है। एवरी कॉन्टिनेंट देयर इज अ वॉर, या अभी है या एक सिचुएशन है। सबसे पहला सवाल तो मैं सर से पूछूंगा। सर नमस्कार, गुड आफ्टरनून, वेलकम टू द शो। कि सर ये कर कौन रहा है? हु इज स्टार्टिंग दीज वॉर्स? हु इज बिहाइंड? हो क्या रहा है दुनिया में?
नमस्कार, जय भारती। आदि, प्लेजर टू बी ऑन योर शो अगेन। कौन कर रहा है? ये दोनों डीप स्टेट, पुराने और नए, मिलके कर रहे हैं। सी दी एम, whoever is in power in USA, the aim is कि भाई continued hegemony of the US over the world island in the 21st century. अब ये सारी लड़ाइयां होंगी, करवा देगा कौन? आएगा सुलह करने के लिए, दबाने के लिए, किसी एक साइड को मदद करने के लिए? यूएस। तो ही बिकम्स द पावर ब्रोकर। किसी जगह पे उसने छेड़ा नहीं है, छिड़वाया है, लड़वाया है लोगों। सो लेट्स हैव अ लुक एट, दो ही है स्लाइड मेरे। एक फर्स्ट स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट है, दूसरा एक वर्ल्ड मैप है जिसके ऊपर मैं एक्सप्लेन करता हूँ क्या बोल रहा हूँ। This is likely US strategy for the world island. World island is Eurasia and Africa. This is a world island surrounded by, in the north, by the Arctic, in the south by the Indian Ocean and the Antarctica, and on either side you have the Pacific and the Atlantic. This is your world island. US is an outlying island. यहाँ के लड़ाई में उसको कुछ नहीं होता है, except for in the Anglo Saxon sphere, except for UK, which is right next to this continent. It is a near island. All the others, Canada, US, Australia, New Zealand, they are outliers. Okay. So if the world island is unstable, my understanding is it ensures continued US domination in the 21st century. His biggest threat is from Asia, because all their writers have been telling that 21st century is the century for Asia, Asian century. उसको इसने तोड़ना है. From the start of the 21st century यही लिखते आ रहे हैं कि 21st century is the century of Asia, and he has got a wonderful player to play around with who will ensure that the 21st century doesn't belong to all of Asia, which is China. PRC. PRC is the joker in the pack, which will deny Asia the Asian century, because he wants to dominate the globe exactly like the US wants. Little realizing that whatever happens on the world island directly impacts him, does not impact directly the US. Outlying island को नहीं होता है, टच नहीं करते हो. So let's have a look at the globe and understand हो क्या रहा है, because I predict the year 2024 and immediately after that are the year of disruptions. लोगों को पता होना चाहिए कि तकरीबन 54 देशों में ये 2024 में इलेक्शंस हो रहे हैं. पहली दफा हो रहा है. Almost about 2 to 3 billion people will be voting. Virtually half the globe is voting. उसमें से 40 ऐसे nations हैं who have 45% of the global population and control 42% of the global GDP. Oh, sorry, 45% of the global GDP. और हमारे इसके इर्द गिर्द अगर आप लेते हो, हमारा तो हो ही रहा है. पाकिस्तान का तो क्वेश्चन मार्क है, अभी सेनेट ने बोला है नहीं करना है, बट लेट अस सी व्हाट हैपेंस. व्हाट डज यूएस हैव टू से अबाउट इट? बिकॉज वो यूएस बोलेगा तो करना पड़ देगा उसको. वो तो सेनेट ने पास किया है, अभी तो असेंबली ने बोला नहीं है ना.
असेंबली
सेनेट ने
फिर बिग
बोला।
डैडी।
हाँ, तो वो तो बिग डैडी बोलेगा, यूएस बताएगा कि नहीं करना है, नहीं करना है, मगर हालांकि February 8th इज द डेट, इट्स अ क्वेश्चन मार्क। बांग्लादेश में अभी होना है, वहां पे तो लड़ाई झगड़े ऑलरेडी शुरू हो रहे हैं, ट्रेन को आग लगा दिया है, पोलिंग बूथ को आग लग रही है। श्रीलंका में होना है, not only the presidential elections, even their parliamentary elections have to take place. And for us, most critical, Indonesia में होना है, though the vice president is well in the lead, and Taiwan, the current vice president is in the lead. तो अभी जहां जहां इंस्टेबिलिटी है, लड़ाई हो सकता है, हो रहा है, उसको मैंने सर्कल कर रखा है। जैसे रेड डॉटेड लाइन ऑन द वेस्ट, यूक्रेन रशिया, वो स्पेशल मिलिट्री ऑपरेशन बोला था कि 3 हफ्ते, 4 हफ्ते, 6 हफ्ते, आज के तारीख में 692nd डे है
जी।
राइट, एंड इट हैज अफेक्टेड द होल ऑफ यूरोप। It has killed two birds with one stone. From about 2012-13, slowly the voice started rising in EU that why should we function under a US flag in NATO? EU should look after itself. So much so that when जब ट्रम्प गया था यूरोप, telling them that as per the NATO agreement 2% आपने खर्च करना है, Angela Merkel had ticked him off there itself. And she said, if you are supposed to provide me protection through your NATO, why should I spend 2% of my budget? If I'm spending and EU is going to spend 2% of his GDP on defense budget, then I don't need you. EU will look after itself. And this battle जो छिड़वाया है US ने between Ukraine and Russia, EU is over. Now EU is totally dependent on US umbrella and डरा हुआ है, and now US has a hold there in the troubled Europe. दूसरा, वेस्ट एशिया, इजराइल हमास की लड़ाई 92nd डे हो गया है आज, and it is expanding. There are so many attacks which are taking place on US assets in Iraq, Syria, counter strikes हो रहे हैं, Houthis are attacking the ships. Kudos to our navy, the second ship they've released, and it has literally put egg on the face on this 10-nation coalition who have not been able to respond to either. And it's the Indians who have responded both times. In fact, showing the mirror to the US ki bhai sahab, क्या काबिलियत बता रहे हो तुम, जो कह रहे हो मेरे झंडे के नीचे आके करो. That is what leads me to the point that did the US know all these things and kept quiet to have an expanding battle? Why are they not responding? They're there, yeah. Can you imagine? They're sitting in Djibouti and they have got their ships patrolling out there and yet they're not responding. चाइना का बोलते रहते हो कि चाइना का शिप दूसरी तरफ चला गया, वो क्या कर रहे हैं ये 10 नेशंस वाले? कंचे खेल रहे हैं या कबड्डी खेल रहे हैं अपने शिप के ऊपर बैठ के, या ताश खेल रहे हैं, ब्रिज खेल रहे हैं? खो-खो. Where is the response? If there is no response, then there is I would say a sort of a tacit acceptance that it should expand further. The conflagration should burn further. Right? Abhi, if you look at Israel, उसने अपने 5 मेरे ख्याल ब्रिगेड्स बाहर निकाले हैं, 3 इन्फेंट्री के और 2 आर्मर्ड ब्रिगेड्स निकाले हैं. करने के लिए क्या? Already inside you have 9 infantry brigades, 5 armored brigades and 1 commando brigade and 1 battalion to the north. They're already functioning there. इस 5 ब्रिगेड से आप किसके साथ लड़ने वाले हो? हिजबुल्लाह का तो लीडर ने ओपनली इजराइल को थंब दिखा दिया है कि मैं तो नहीं लड़ने वाला, अपने ईरान को, कि मैं नहीं लड़ने वाला. So do you want to activate these areas? Now what has happened? That Ethiopia and Somali Land, the western portion of Somalia which has declared itself independent, Somali Land. Surprisingly, the only country in the world today as yet which has recognized it as an independent country is Taiwan, by the way.
Somaliland ko?
Yeah. That's the only country which has recognized it. Ethiopia and Somaliland have done a deal, and Somaliland is giving him because of that Eritrea breaking away from Ethiopia became landlocked. They have no ports. They are totally dependent on Djibouti port. 95% of the shipping which comes into Djibouti port is for Somalia. And 75% of the earnings from the port comes from Ethiopia. Sorry, not Somalia, Ethiopia. And 75% of the earnings from the port which Djibouti earns, which is its essence main earning, is coming from Ethiopia. Ethiopia doesn't want that. Everybody is hit by COVID and all these wars, especially Ukraine war which is going. He wanted them to reduce the rate, which Djibouti obviously वैसे ही फक्कड़ है थैंक्स टू चाइना, तो उसने मना कर दिया. तो अब इसने जाके बेरबरा करके इनका पोर्ट है, इकलौता पोर्ट है, वो दे दिया है, प्लस 20 square kilometers around he has given for setting up their complete port facilities, warehousing, everything to be done out there. That means it is going to directly impact Djibouti. Djibouti और भी फक्कड़ हो जाएगा. All the others are saying worried, except UAE, because UAE has excellent relations with Ethiopia and Somaliland. So the only person supporting them now is UAE. So will this also become something? As it is, we know कि वो बढ़ते जा रहा है. You have a problem adjacent to Iran, which is Azerbaijan and Armenia. यूक्रेन के साथ क्लोज बाय सर्बिया, बोस्निया, दैट कैन, और जो कोसोवो का प्रॉब्लम है, दैट कैन इरप्ट एट एनी टाइम. यू लुक एट अफ्रीका, I gave you only one portion. नॉर्थ अफ्रीका, लिबिया, सुदान. लिबिया तो ऑलरेडी गया हुआ है, सुदान 2 में टूटा था, सुदान के अंदर भी लड़ाई है. द रैपिड सपोर्ट फोर्स वर्सेस द सुदानीज आर्मी. So there is a civil war which is going on in Sudan. And you had Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, all Guinea, who had all, this is the Francophone West Africa, who have had their coups and thrown out the French. But now the biggest problem being faced here is that the Al-Shabaab group has become very active. The French were helping them also, apart from squeezing them for money, the French were helping them in countering them. अब वो है नहीं. Similarly, Somalia में Al-Shabaab is there in the south, and more than 1/3 of the African Union forces who were operating in Somalia to counter Al-Shabaab are Ethiopian troops. Somalia अभी खड़ा हो गया है कि he still claims Somaliland is his own against Ethiopia. So once Ethiopia pulls out, again you will have disturbances in disruptions, I would say, in Somalia, thanks to Al-Shabaab. So look at and Democratic Republic of Congo में क्या हो रहा है वो तो हमें ही पता है, कितने दिनों से सिविल वॉर चल रहा है. So virtually you look at like Nigeria है, बोको हराम का चलता रहता है. So the North Africa and the Sahel region is absolutely unstable. कभी भी आग भड़क सकता है. आपके एडजेसेंट पाकिस्तान अफगानिस्तान की तो वैसी झड़प चली जा रही है. At what stage will it convert to a conflict? You don't know. Lot of experts and people say that पाकिस्तान का जो गया था आसिफ मुनीर, शायद इसीलिए गया था परमिशन लेने के लिए कि मैं लड़ लूं. अब लड़ने के लिए उसके पास तो कुछ है नहीं. Somebody has to support him and give him. So now this is an instability around you. बांग्लादेश इलेक्शंस क्या होता है, वहां पे ऑलरेडी काफी स्ट्राइफ शुरू हो चुका है. एक ट्रेन जल गया था. देयर आर सम पोलिंग बूथ्स एंड ऑल गेटिंग बर्न्ड. सो विल इट बी अनस्टेबल? व्हाट हैपेंस देयर? तो बांग्लादेश के अंदर फॉर मेनी इयर्स, सिंस three sides Bangladesh is surrounded by India virtually. There's a very small patch of land about 80 kilometers only, which is the border with Myanmar. Rest is all India, and fourth side is the Bay of Bengal. Since they've always felt that India might attack them, and if India attacks them, their plan is to fight a guerrilla warfare. For guerrilla warfare, they have what is called the village defense forces. विलेजेस में आर्म्स के कैशे रखे हुए हैं, एंड नॉमिनेटेड पर्सन इज द हेड. जो रिटायर होके वहां जाता है ऑफिसर, ही इज द हेड हु इज सपोज्ड टू कंट्रोल देम. नाउ द विलेजेस देमसेल्व्स आर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड बिटवीन द टू फैक्शंस, दैट इज द अवामी लीग ऑन वन साइड एंड द इस्लामिस्ट्स एंड बीएनपी ऑन द अदर साइड. चलो अवामी लीग जीत जाता है. Will it still lead to conflagration and fight? We also know that 2-3 generals have been sacked for siding with the Islamists. No, this is a tinderbox sitting on your immediate flank. Now you look at Myanmar, North Myanmar and portions of Rakhine state have gone out of control of Myanmar. To soothe the Chinese, they're now giving them a deal in Kyakpu port to make it a deep sea port. Is not in your interest, because that comes very close to your naval submarine base. Now you come to the other flank. आपका नॉर्थ कोरिया, साउथ कोरिया, तो यू मेड द मेंशन, वो तो शेलिंग शुरू कर दिया. इसने भी शेलिंग शुरू कर दिया है. आइलैंड को इवैक्यूएट किया हुआ है साउथ कोरिया ने. All this he doesn't do without any support from China, because if you look at it, North Korea is totally dependent on China. China ke bagair he can do nothing. Now you have the problems which are going on in the Philippines. Philippines and China ke beech mein jhada, every day, almost every second day the ship goes there, और उसके कोस्ट गार्ड के ship water cannons ये वो कर रहे होते हैं. So at any point and the Chinese pressure on Taiwan, what happens? अभी तक जितने भी अपने predictions आए हैं, Taiwan's vice president is winning. TPP is winning. What will China do then again? Okay, so the chances of something occurring out here are very high. Africa, I've already told you. What happens in the Indian Ocean region now? Indonesia is supposed to go to elections. The जोको का वाइस प्रेसिडेंट जो है उसके 2 टर्म हो गए. जोको को इज नॉट एलिजिबल, सो हिज वाइस प्रेसिडेंट is supposed to come to power, and their stance is anti-China, right? Then Indian Ocean के अंदर Chinese ships तो घूम रहे हैं अभी. What happens in the elections in Sri Lanka? Maldives वाला मुइजू तो कभी हाँ कभी ना कुछ बोल रहा है. What happens with Sri Lanka elections? Similarly, what happens in Latin America? Because the Chinese hold in these areas in the leftist parties is quite high. हालांकि Argentina has walked away from them, But there are other countries, and Central Americans are all leftists. So while what is happening there is not affecting all these conflict zones which are there, इंडिया के अंदर भी हमारे फिफ्थ कॉलमनिस्ट सब सारे बैठे हुए हैं यार. Now, will you have the Chinese upping the ante against you along the LAC, and also instigating the Pakis to do something along the LOC? Your own elections are coming up. What kind of, just imagine what happened in West Bengal यार. ईडी के ऊपर पथराव कर दिया. दूसरे भी बंदे को तो पकड़ लिया है, पर फिर भी पथराव हो गया. That's how openly saying that you can't touch me. So these are indicators of disruptions within India also. When all this happens, what does US gain from it?
Chaos is easy to control.
Chaos to hai, but the biggest thing is the global south now becomes back again dependent on it only.
Useless because they all go under stress.
Yes, so the rest of Africa where the disruptions are not there, and quite a lot from Latin America and the Caribbean, will start looking up to the United States that you have to help me. So he gets the resources and he gets the markets. And so what Trump had been telling, make in America first. So that's why I say, whether it's the new deep state or the old deep state, if India is able to control the itself and be able to manage like the way it has been doing till now, then you will be the sole stable spot surrounded by disruptions. And that is why I put a question mark on Russia. Where is Russia in all these things? चाइना में तो इंटरनल इंस्टेबिलिटी वो तो हमने काफी बात कर रखे हैं. इकोनॉमी इज ऑन अ डाउन स्पाइरल, internal tensions are there, PLA is not on same page with with Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping doesn't know what to do, so he will strike out. So the chances are either he strikes out on the eastern seaboard or strikes at India, right? And along with the Americans, those who gain are the Anglo Saxons, because the Canadians will also benefit from it, Australia will also benefit from it, New Zealand will also benefit from it, unless the disruption comes into the Southern Pacific, which I doubt, because Australia has not gone against the Americans. Just imagine, इसको new submarines चाहिए थे as far back as 2009, when he got into talks and the deal with the French. At that time, they wanted conventional, air independent. Then they changed that they wanted nuclear. Nuclear का बनाना शुरू किया, so then they changed and they said, nahi, most of it should be made in Australia and other things. So the French told them that if I have to bring everything to you, because you don't have anything, and make it here, it will be costly. It is cheaper if I make it in France and transship to you. माने नहीं, cost बढ़ गया. Then they have dumped them. America stepped in. You know, by when earliest will they get their new SSNs? The first of the SSNs. Not before 2040. चुप बैठा है ऑस्ट्रेलिया अभी तक. He doesn't know what has hit them. Because if he had continued with the French, by now he would be getting his SSNs. He's not going to get it because अमेरिका ने दिया नहीं है. अमेरिका ने बोला है ब्रिटिश के पास टेक्नोलॉजी मैंने दिया हुआ है, जो ब्रिटिश बनाता है वो आपको मिलेगा. ब्रिटिश ने बोला है कि मैं अपना भी एसएसएन बनाना हूं, पहले मेरा एसएसएन बनेगा, उसके बाद तुम्हें मिलेगा,
बाद तुम्हारा बनेगा.
अब यहाँ पे फंसा हुआ है सो कॉल्ड ऑकस डील। तो वही मैं बोलता हूँ कि भाई साहब हवे में है ऑकस डील। सो इफ ऑस्ट्रेलिया नाउ reneges and says कि नहीं, this is not good for me, then will he create instability in the southern Pacific? As it is, the Chinese footprints are increasing. By the way, उनका एक क्या है compact ऐसी कुछ, they have some compact for financial assistance with the southern Pacific, some of the islands. वो उसका टेन्योर खत्म हो गया, रेन्यू नहीं किया यूएस ने. So southern Pacific is a question mark if something happens there, right? So by doing this and creating all the disruptions here, what do they achieve? जो भी एशिया के राइजिंग पावर्स हैं और जो भी एशियन सेंचुरी है, थैंक यू हो गया. Because by the time you recover and do anything, 21st century तो निकल जाएगा. And it puts a big curb on the OPEC countries also. Because the moment you have, as it is already, the shipping rates have gone through the roof for anything coming via the Mediterranean and Red Sea. It's just gone through the roof. And disruption extra निकल के जाएगा, ईरान के ऊपर भी शुरू हो जाएगा, तो आपका पर्शियन गल्फ भी बंद हो जाएगा. So now, when you look in hindsight, you realize that your decision makers had thought about this, and thankfully now आपका मोजाम्बिक वाला थ्रू हो जाएगा and वेनेजुएला का ऑयल भी थ्रू हो जाएगा. तो वेनेजुएलन ऑयल कैन, अगर disruptions are there around South China Sea and you can't take Malacca Straits, then you can come south of Australia also, and your Venezuelan oil can come to India, and gas can come from your Tanzania, and the rest of the oil can also come from Russia, your Vladivostok Chennai route. Okay. And so their biggest concern, I always feel, is going to be India. बिकॉज इसमें डिसरप्शंस में वो देख रहे हैं सब तरफ हम कर पा रहे हैं, इंडिया इंटरनल डिस्टर्बेंस को काफी कंट्रोल कर ले रहा है. हाउ टू डैमेज इंडियाज राइज? अदरवाइज द ग्लोबल साउथ हैज इंडिया. यू आर द वॉइस ऑफ ग्लोबल साउथ. आपको डिसरप्ट कैसे कर सकते हैं, क्या कर सकते हैं? दैट इज व्हाट इंडिया हैज टू, व्हाट वी हैव स्पोकन अर्लियर, दैट यू विल नीड टू, भारत नीड्स टू hedge its bets. Don't be dependent on one. So that you have openly done. US के साथ है आपका, रशिया के साथ है आपके, फ्रांस के साथ भी है, इटली के साथ भी हो जाएगा. Moment you hedge your bets, then disrupting your economic growth becomes slightly difficult. Because after all, France is already impacted because of what the US has done. Not only in Ukraine, they are very angry with what happened with their deal with Australia. यार 2009 से आप कर रहे हो and suddenly 2021 को आप बोलते हो थैंक यू. जब सब डिजाइन हो गया, ये हो गया, फिर बोले नहीं कॉस्ट थोड़ा ज्यादा है. and you were 2018 में they had given them the first designs and costings, and the cost negotiations were going on, price negotiations, when you just said ki it was not coming down to what you wanted and you just said no. Okay. I still say that back channel से बात करके रशिया यूक्रेन broker a deal, ceasefire करा. And if that means sidelining Zelensky, do sideline. You do have a number of people within his hierarchy who are very anti him now. And the first indication you'll get it because elections March mein hone. 31st March is supposed to be Ukraine's elections, presidential elections. Will he have elections or not? I don't think so. Russia में भी है, यूक्रेन का देखते, रशिया तो इज गोइंग अहेड, इज यूक्रेन गोइंग, मना किया है। एंड बनता भी है, लड़ाई लगी हुई है, कहां से इलेक्शंस करेगा, कब उसके
हाँ
ऊपर
सर।
बॉम्ब गिर जाएगा पता भी नहीं है। बट इफ यू कैन गेट अ सीज फायर, then the talks on what should be the borders and other things can carry on. But एक बार सीज फायर हो जाता है ना, then the impact on Europe starts seeding away. Then one by one the other countries may also like to do treaties with you. So at least once that flank is finished, then you come here. Then you need to do your back channel talks to sort out, because actually the player in the game you got to work, I think, is Qatar.
Hmm.
We
He's
discussed earlier also Qatar, and Qatar dropping Hamas. The leaders have to be sent out from there.
वो तो
The
भाग गए
moment,
सर. They ran away. They've gone to Algeria.
the permanently, the moment the funding stops from Hamas, uh, from Qatar, the Hamas can't survive. Hamas can't fight once the funding stops. So it's not going to happen overnight. Ukraine one, I feel, will be a little faster because the war fatigue has stepped in. The Israel-Hamas one will not happen in a hurry because the war fatigue has not yet set in. It will take a little time. And this would have to be done post-elections, our own elections. And with this, reach out to more and more countries of Africa. टैंजानिया के साथ है हमारा, बोट्सवाना से बात करो, साउथ अफ्रीका, नामीबिया, एंगोला, सबसे बात करना शुरू कर लो, एंड लैटिन अमेरिका, बट मोर विद अफ्रीका, सेंट्रल एंड सदर्न अफ्रीका, वेयर you can look at getting your resources from there and do your deal for your resource security. When you do that, after that, then in a step-by-step approach in the medium term, use bilateralism to break this Anglo Saxon sphere. And the prime, I tell you, are Australia and New Zealand. Prime hai to break from the Anglo Saxon sphere. UK, dekhte hain, the coming 5 to 10 years will tell in what shape and size it will survive. Scotland में they are quite angry. अभी तक ब्रेकिंग का वहां पे दोबारा से रेफरेंडम का हुआ नहीं है, बट द नेक्स्ट रेफरेंडम यू नेवर नो. स्कॉटलैंड में गो, एंड once Scotland goes, then you might find that Northern Ireland may also like to merge with Ireland. So UK may be left with only England and Wales. So it is becoming an issue there. Scottish freedom is gathering momentum. Let us see. Unka first minister is an ex-Paki. The prime minister of Scotland is called the first minister of Scotland. He is an
Yusuf something.
Pakistani. So यूके को तो बाद में डील कर सकते हैं. ये टूट गए तुम्हारे ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड न्यूजीलैंड खास करके. Primarily, you see, Australia has been left nanga. Without the SSN and the Chinese SSN roaming around all these places, he's actually been left nanga by the Americans, and I'm quite surprised. in their uh, blind push for not permitting European powers into the Pacific, I think they are the ones who have created this fissure between Australia and France. France has been a resident power. So ultimately, you will find that if you are able to sort out Ukraine, then the problem in Iran may not escalate. If Iran escalates, then let us be clear, Iran will go nuclear. They are already approaching
65%.
ना वो तो बहुत पुराना हो गया. 65% तो पिछले से पिछले साल था. They are already approaching 80-85%, and they will get their weapon enriched uranium. WEUs तो कगार पे खड़े हैं. And then suddenly you will find South Korea and Japan also going nuclear. And Saudi Arabia will push the Pakis and buy off some nuclear weapons from them. यानी कंगाल है, J31 को दे रहा है और अपना न्यूक्लियर स्टॉक पाइल भी बढ़ा रहा है बाय द वे पाकिस्तान. So I will not be surprised if Saudi Arabia, the moment Iran starts going nuclear, Saudi Arabia has to go nuclear, and the only way he can go nuclear is because he funded most of Pakistan's nuclear plan.
Yeah.
That's why it was termed as the Islamic bomb. So he will push for, and that does not augur well for Asia, because then Asia itself will have Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, India, China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, 8 nuclear powers there. 8 nuclear powers.
Dangerous.
Which is a dangerous situation, because उसमें से पगलेट्स जो हैं न्यूक्लियर पावर्स, एक तो नॉर्थ कोरिया, दूसरा पाकिस्तान है. ईरान आ जाएगा तो यू नेवर नो व्हाट विल हैपन. And then you have Saudi Arabia. So you'll have at least 3, if not 4, who will be nuclear trigger happy. Then what do you do? So 2024 onwards, I feel the region around us is going to be quite unstable, and our internal security apparatus have to be up and about. And the NIA has been doing a wonderful job, and they have to keep at it. There will be many more such cases that are coming up, which the NIA is nipping in the bud. So the internal security apparatus has to be up and about if India has to be stable. Because otherwise, US is not going to leave any stone unturned to create instability within India, because at present, the only threat that they have within the 21st century of a rising power is India. Like we had said, all the other powers that have come up or were coming up were aided powers, whether it is Western Europe, whether it is China, whether Japan, whether South Korea, or those Asian tigers that we talk about, Thailand and all these. They were all aided powers. You are the only one. Why is he so scared about you? You are the only one as a nation which has come up on its own. अपने दम पे आया और अपने दम पे बढ़ रहा है. तो आपसे और आपके लोगों से उसे डर है कि यही एक मेरे लिए competitor आएगा by the end of the 21st century or the second half of the 21st century, where he will be strong. And जो कुछ कर सकता है to disrupt you, he will. So I'm not surprised that he called Asif Munir and he went and all these people met him. They will do anything and everything to disrupt. And my concern next is the elections in Sri Lanka. Elections in Sri Lanka. Then you have Nepal. You have a minority government actually. The Hal faction of the Communist Party, which he controls, is the third smallest, is number 3, or rather the third largest is number 3. Number 1 is the Congress, number 2 is Oli, number 3 is this chap. So Congress and these people and other smaller parties who have totally different viewpoints are there. How long will US and China permit him to be there? So it is not only within. Now you have to, like I keep telling, Tushnim warfare. You have to start controlling the dynamics around you, because these have direct security impacts for you, both external and internal. Like supposing Bangladesh erupts, बंदे कहां भागेंगे यार? Bengal and Assam? Who's going to run into Myanmar? Nobody is going to run into Myanmar. He'll run into Bengal and Assam, yeah. नॉर्थ में कूच बिहार सिलीगुड़ी एरिया है, वेस्ट में तुम्हारा बंगाल का एरिया है, ईस्ट में तुम्हारा असम का एरिया है. नेपाल में भी अगर हो गया प्रॉब्लम्स, लड़ाई फिर शुरू हो सकती है. जैसे वो 10 साल उनका कम्युनिस्ट वाले लड़ रहे थे, तो बंदे कहां भागेंगे? मधेश से आपके पास ही आएंगे, उत्तर प्रदेश, उत्तराखंड, बिहार. So these are very, 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 this is, I would say, the coming 2-3 years is very crucial for India. भारत के लिए बहुत crucial है, that you need to ensure your internal and external security. And for external security, you need to quietly utilize your Tushnim warfare to help and make sure that these don't erupt. These don't erupt. Like Dahal, along with the Nepali Congress, has a tilt towards India. So that has to be maintained. And the biggest worry with the Chinese have is that they had wanted another president and not Podel, because Podel also has the president also has a tilt towards India. So we have to make sure that these people are able to continue and there is stability. Similarly, there is no conflagration in Bangladesh. There is stability out there, whatever happens. And a certain degree of stability through the elections of Sri Lanka takes place. Though if you're Pakistan, to chhod do yaar, wo gaya guzra hai. But we need to work with our contacts through Afghanistan to keep Pakistan concentrated towards his west. The more he concentrates towards the west, more he consumes more and more energy towards the west, the less he will be able to do towards your side. Yes, he will try that odd apna use of terror organizations towards you, but the one, I would say, saving grace है कि आज के तारीख में जितने भी उसके मिलिटेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो तैयार खड़े हैं या अंदर भेजा है, ओनली 1/3 आर लोकल्स, 2/3 आर पाकिस. पहले उल्टा होता था, शुरू में ये था, उसके बाद उल्टा हो गया था, अभी बैक टू दिस हो गया है. Less and less locals are coming up to join the militant organization. That is the subtle change हुआ है आर्टिकल 370 निकलने के बाद. उनके फाइनेंसेस को सबको दबाव लग गया है, तो उसके बाद यू फाइंड एंड जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज खुल गए हैं. नॉर्मलसी का ये है कि आज ही रिपोर्ट पढ़ रहा था, विच हैज बीन रिटन बाय एन अमेरिकन who says about normalcy in J&K कि बॉलीवुड आ गया है पिक्चर शूटिंग के लिए. दैट्स एन इंडिकेटर ऑफ नॉर्मलसी कि पिक्चर शूटिंग के लिए आ गया है बॉलीवुड. अदरवाइज रोजा जैसा तो कहीं और किया था, आई थिंक इफ आई रिमेम्बर करेक्टली उत्तराखंड या हिमाचल में शूट किया था, बट बॉलीवुड हैज कम बैक. सो you will find in a, I don't decry the Americans for what they are trying to do, but yet it is, as far as the world island is concerned, it's a nefarious design. उनको यही समझ आता है, उनकी सोच ही इतनी है और कोई सोच है नहीं उनकी कि भाई, क्योंकि वर्ल्ड आइलैंड में लड़ाई छिड़ता है तो उनको इफेक्ट नहीं होता है, बिकॉज दे आर एन आउटलाइंग. ओनली टाइम दे गॉट अफेक्टेड वाज द 9/11. 9/11 जब उनके वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर टावर्स को हिट किया था, उसके बाद उनका डील बन चुका है उनसे, होमलैंड सिक्योरिटी तो जो कुछ भी है, कि ये यहां नहीं करोगे, बाकी सब वहीं पे करते रहो, जो करना है करो. अब वही हो रहा है वहां. सो अमेरिकन लड़वाएगा, दे आर नॉट रेडी टू फाइट एंड गेट देयर बॉडी बैग्स. दे विल कम एट अ सब्सिक्वेंट स्टेट टू हेल्प यू, and they would let the world islanders fight each other till the last standing world islander. So we need to be very careful of how we go about it. Pakistan, of course, will not listen to logic. China will not listen to logic. But I think Russia and Ukraine, excluding Zelensky, Ukraine will. And in this, Europe आपको support करेगा अगर आप पीस ब्रोकर कर सकते हो. हमास का पीस, लाइक आई सेड, गोज थ्रू कतर. स्पीक टू कतर एंड स्पीक टू हेजबुल्ला. हेजबुल्ला एक बार फायरिंग बंद कर दे वहां से, द होल डायनेमिक ऑफ द हमास बैटल चेंजेस. यू हैव टू स्पीक टू हेजबुल्ला एंड कतर. कतर से फंडिंग बंद कराओ और हेजबुल्ला से वो बंद कराओ, बिकॉज इंडिया हैज अ लॉट ऑफ लीवर्स अवेलेबल विद कतर. लाइक नाउ they have now openly stated, the court has said 90 days available to put your plea against the jail terms that have been given to our 8 sailors. These are indicators that you have your levers. So use those levers not just for these 8 sailors. Now use those levers to stop the funding to Hamas and get a word to Hezbollah to stop the firing. Once that happens, then you can talk to Iran. Then you can talk to Iran कि ये conflagration you're getting into the trap very easily, what the Americans are doing. This is the reflexive control that I talk about. अब वो बॉम्बिंग हुआ है, आईएस बोला है मैंने किया है, अब जो कुछ किया है, lot of people say it is not their manner, in the manner in which they do, chalo, whatever it be. But now you are seeking revenge. Now you are saying no, it is Israelis and Americans who have done it. It is only going to add to the conflagration if the Iranians do something towards the Israel side. It's adding fuel to fire. These are the small things on which we can talk and put out these small fires and control the escalatory control matrix you have to open out. Similarly, you have to see what you can do with the Chinese to speak to them on escalatory control matrix. But I don't think Xi Jinping will listen to reason, because he is painted himself in a corner. He has to strike out to divert attention. So the two big question marks for me here are China and Pakistan, who will not listen to logic. But others, if you work with them for escalatory control matrix and start de-escalation, like Ukraine mein escalatory control matrix mein de-escalation, first de-escalation is ceasefire. There's so much of fatigue, you can create a ceasefire. When you start doing this quietly through the back door, at the end of it, Bharat ka reputation will be very high. People will have a lot of respect for you that yes, you have been able to manage these things well. But then remember, by the time all these happens, 5-6 साल बाद जो भी प्रेसिडेंट होगा उसके नेशनल सिक्योरिटी स्ट्रैटेजी में सबसे पहले इंडिया का नाम लगा होगा दैट यू आर राइजिंग कंपेटिटर. ये याद रखिए. 6 साल 10 साल बाद आपका नाम होगा. तब तक आपने अपना जो टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलपमेंट करना है, इन्फ्यूज करना है, स्किल डेवलपमेंट करना है, अपने आप को आत्मनिर्भर करना है, कर लो. So beyond 2040, China, US is going to look on you as a challenger. Before that, 2030 and beyond, he looks at you as a competitor. Beyond 2040, you are a challenger. आपने अपने आप को बिल्कुल सुदृढ़, सक्षम, समृद्ध बनाना है ताकि 2040 से पहले, ताकि जब वो आपको कॉम्पिटिटर चैलेंजर देख रहा है, then he'll do anything and everything like what he's doing to China today. So learn the lessons and be self-dependent so that you don't face that channel. ये फेज अब शुरू हो गया है. यूएस ने शुरू कर दिया है ये फेज कि वर्ल्ड आइलैंड में खासकर एशियन सेंचुरी वो आने नहीं देना चाहता. This is my honest opinion. This is what I had. I am open to questions.
Yes sir, let's get into some questions. Guys, जाने से पहले सब as usual my request है सब ये वीडियो को लाइक करें सब लोग, ठीक है, क्योंकि दुनिया की जियोपॉलिटिक्स हमने बात करी है. इट्स नाइस टू गो अराउंड द वर्ल्ड इन 1 hour. पहले को होता था ना अराउंड द वर्ल्ड इन 80 days, हमने 1 घंटे में घुमा दिया आपको. तो प्लीज लाइक द वीडियो, सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल अगर आपने नहीं करा है.
राज कपूर की फिल्म भी थी ना, अराउंड द वर्ल्ड इन $8.
या और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंटली गाइज, स्प्रेड द वर्ड अबाउट डेफ टॉक्स. एंड आप लोग इस मेरे एफर्ट को, चैनल को कंट्रीब्यूट भी कर सकते हैं यूजिंग द QR कोड अप देयर, या फिर आप पेपैल यूज कर सकते हैं अगर आप देश के बाहर हैं, या फिर सुपर स्टिकर्स और सुपर चैट्स भी भेज सकते हैं. सो प्लीज लाइक 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 जोर से. ओके, let's see. Yeah, okay, first one, Sanjeev ji, thank you so much for becoming a member. Ramapriya ji, thank you so much for your contribution. Daku memes, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you so much. I'm seeing a T-72 tank in the background, sir. Tell us the story.
No, that is my unit ka ek memento. I commanded, it's not a award as such. But I commanded 16th Light Cavalry, which is a pure South Indian unit. So each state has their own association of all ranks, men and others. I'm a member of all their associations. So we celebrate the Battle of Gadgor of 65 war in September. So I was called by the Tamil Nadu Association to be the chief guest and give a talk. I'd gone to a place called Teni near Madurai, where all the retired men, officers, the other ranks, JCOs, the women and the children, they had all come. So I had given a talk and mentioned about the Gadgor Day and others, what the battle was and what it was. So this was the memento they have given. That is the tank T-72 which 16 Cavalry has. And the soldier that you see is the old Madras Cavalry uniform. Lanceman who's standing, old Madras Cavalry. That is. And next to it, the two flags that you see opened out, that is the unit where I was commissioned in, the Pune Horse. Uska flag.
And guys, ये है पूना हॉर्स का, अगर आपको दिखे मैं जरा इसको बड़ा करता हूं.
और नीचे 16th Light Cavalry का badge.
This is sir's contribution to my wall. This is the Pune horse and this is the 16th Light Cavalry. Okay, this thing. Grateful to sir for actually sending it to me so that
most
मैं लगा सकूं इसको अपने वॉल पे. So contributions are here towards the Def Talks wall. JBJP, थैंक यू सो मच सर जी. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਝਾਵ ਦੋ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਮਾਨ ਵਿਸ਼ਵ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ला सकदा.
उसके
8
लिए
PM.
उसके साथ आम को शायद बात करना पड़े, जब
नहीं नहीं यार 8 PM 8
15-20
PM
पैक चढ़ चुका होगा उसका.
8 PM लेके आओ ना, फिर सब शांति हो जाएगी. RMS, he says one of two, sir. The Munir visit to US met with Victoria Nuland and company from there on all the activities are getting heated up in the Red Sea, Rajouri, Iran, bomb blast, ISIS to take responsibility. And second part is as soon as the ship which are coming to India hit by drone, Pentagon published the news that it is Iran. As we see the pattern which are connected to one country, that's Bekaristan with the help of US.
अब वो और कुछ तो कर नहीं सकता, तो वो ये करेगा. But I have a big question mark on whether it was a drone which hit our ship. Our people have kept quiet about it. I think they have found out and quietly बता दिया होगा. ईरान से तो था नहीं.
जहां मर्जी से हो, आपने कवर अप किया है, मतलब दैट्स अ वेरी क्लियर थिंग. आप कहीं ना कहीं लेवरेज क्रिएट कर रहे हो और कुछ नहीं है. डैम गुड, लगे रहो, कोई टेंशन नहीं है.
बट ये दो जो शिप को हमने जो हाईजैक हुए थे, एक इसमें 25 अपने थे, इसमें 15 थे, उसमें हमने इतना स्विफ्ट एक्शन करके उनको रिट्रीव कर लिया. वो बंदे भाग गए, जो पायरेट्स थे वो भाग गए. That itself indicates a lot to the countries in the region of, firstly, that the pirates are scared of your navy. They won't take any panga with you. Not that they are not scared of the Americans. गए हैं, वो 4 बोट सिंक भी हो गया, पर उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा है. यू नॉट फायरिंग. हेलीकॉप्टर्स के साथ ऊपर आ गए थे, मेगाफोन से बोल दिया था निकल जाओ वरना. अब वो निकल गए. And the Marcos went and cleared it out. Physical. Americans do kinetic. गोली मार दो, गिरा दो. You're doing physical. काइनेटिक हमारा अलग है. हम जाते हैं अंदर फिजिकली और उसको क्लियर करते हैं. तो 2 ships within a week, 2 ships have been cleared. So वो पता लग गया होगा हमारे नेवी को अभी तक कि किसका था, और उनको मैसेज भी चला गया होगा.
Adinath says, thank you so much. Firstly, Adi, I've heard it was a drone attack. Your guess is as good as mine. I mean,
I don't know, because
किसी को नहीं पता.
results have not come out. The Houthis said no, the Americans had fired missiles against our drone and that missile could have hit you. The initial report said a drone.
You know, I trust the Houthis more.
Yeah. So you can't.
I trust the Houthis more.
You can't say. Now after that सन्नाटा है उसके ऊपर. After the Navy said we have got everything and we are testing, सब तरफ से सन्नाटा है उसके ऊपर.
मैं वही तो बोल रहा हूँ सर, कवर अप है.
जिसने किया होगा उसको मैसेज जा चुका होगा कि
इट्स अ क्लीन कवर अप. और आपने बोला ठीक है, मैं दुनिया में नहीं बोल रहा, कुछ चाहिए होगा मैं तेरे को, आई विल कॉल यू व्हेन आई नीड समथिंग.
Yeah. So that is.
Rishi Saab, thank you so much. He says, great listening to you guys. On a serious note, how can we commoners be a part of this deep state politics? We also want power and money.
Be a good Bharatiya Nagrik and be aware. Respond in a mature manner. That's all that you need to.
Shubham Agarwal ji, thank you so much for becoming a member for 3 months. He says, what are the South Korea, North Korea missile test? It's not a missile test near island. Can it be a new war zone? Pride movement से deep state को क्या advantage है? Let's take the North Korea, South Korea first.
वो तो सब तरफ उनको लड़ाई लड़वाना है ना आपस में सबसे. राइट. लड़वाना है उनको. और हथियार, a lot of these west leaning countries हथियार किससे लेंगे? यूएस से लेंगे, तो पैसे उनको मिलेंगे. He becomes the arbiter in all these cases. That is what he thinks. उसकी सोच है ये कि भाई इस तरह से होगा. और नॉर्थ कोरिया तो करता है, जब भी यूएस को उंगल करना होता है, चाइना नॉर्थ कोरिया को बोलता है, वो कुछ ना कुछ करता है. बिकॉज साउथ कोरिया के साथ यूएस का डील है that they will always keep a nuclear armed ship stroke submarine there in South Korea to provide it a nuclear umbrella. Earlier it was against Soviet Union, now against China and North Korea, but rakha nahi hai. They haven't kept it. That's why I said बातचीत अभी साउथ कोरिया में चैटर काफी शुरू हो गया that why depend on them, we should go nuclear. We have the capability. Japan also has the capability. They can go nuclear anytime they want. And that was
Pride
my
movement
fear,
से
that if we don't manage ourselves well, and India doesn't manage this coming 3-4 years well for itself, then Asia will find itself surrounded by at least 8 nuclear powers. It doesn't augur well. और जिसमें से 3-4 तो पगलेट हैं, कभी भी दबा देंगे.
और प्राइड मूवमेंट से डीप स्टेट को क्या एडवांटेज?
प्राइड मूवमेंट समझा नहीं मैं
सर. वो LGBTQ प्लस XYZ.
ओ यार, वो तो इंस्टेबिलिटी करना है उसने, उसको क्या फर्क पड़ता है? क्रिएट इंस्टेबिलिटी.
If he can divide you, he can rule you.
Why are they talking about no borders and this, that and all? World island में कोई border नहीं होगा. They'll always stay unstable. So it will never come up as a rise, as a challenger to the US. Little realizing that your own internal problems have started now with all these pride movements. Your Ivy League has got hit so badly.
Yeah. Problem. Thank you so much. He says, Major General Sir and Aadi, also analysis. Your thoughts on what Bharat's geopolitical strategies would be in 2024 after Modi ji is back?
वो बताया ना मैंने. सबसे पहले चीज which is doable, quietly broker the escalatory control matrix यूक्रेन रशिया लड़ाई में, बिकॉज वहां पे वॉर फटीग आ चुका है. कौन देखता है आजकल? पहले तो हेडलाइंस होता था, आज कौन बताता है क्या हो रहा है? कुछ नहीं. सो वहां पे एज द फर्स्ट एस्केलेटरी कंट्रोल मैट्रिक्स सीज फायर करवा दो
जी.
हैव अ सीज फायर एंड देन डू द टॉक्स.
देन फिगर आउट.
टॉक्स चलते रहेंगे आराम से, तो एटलीस्ट एस्केलेशन कंट्रोल हो गया ना. Then whatever reconstruction and other thing works, people have to do, people come back doing that, life returns slowly to normalcy to those areas.
जी.
दूसरा मैंने बोला hedge your bets like what we are doing, outreach to Africa and Latin America.
That to always, sir, always.
And quietly do your back channel talks. P1 I say Qatar and Hezbollah. Qatar you have lot of leverages, okay. दी नेवल वालों के इसमें बहुत क्लियर आ रहा है कितना लीवरेज आपके पास है, काफी है. सो उनको आप ले लो. सी व्हाई आई एम सेइंग योर लीवरेज. कतर इज अ पेक्यूलियर कंट्री. द एक्चुअल कतारीज form only around 12 to 15% of the total population. The big expats are the largest, like say in Dubai also. But in Qatar, the largest expat, 22 to 25% are Indians. 8 lakh Indians form 20 to 25%, and these 8 lakh are the working age population. आपने देखा होगा जैसे ही इनको डेथ सेंटेंस दिया था, दो चीजें लिखी थी. 1 lakh call from Netanyahu, 1 lakh workers for Israel, and Taiwan had asked for 1 lakh workers. और इस तरह से अगर आपका 8 lakh workers निकल गए ना, their economy would have fallen. Okay, so and your gas you already started with Mozambique. So इस करके ऐसे 2-4 आपके पास लीवरेजेस हैं कतर के साथ, तो उसको यूज करो. स्टॉप द फंडिंग टू हमास एंड स्पीक टू हेजबुल्ला टू स्टॉप द फायरिंग. व्हाट डज इट? अगर लड़ाई लड़ने नहीं जा रहे हो इजराइल के साथ, तो ये रॉकेट फायर करके आपको मिल क्या रहा है?
बस
यू आर अचीविंग नथिंग. यू आर अचीविंग नथिंग, बिकॉज इस फायर से जो डिस्ट्रक्शन गाजा में होना है और हो रहा है, वो तो हो रहा है यार, whether you have fired or not fired. Did it make an impact on Gaza? No. So then
It
why
will
are you
not.
doing it? Why are you doing it?
जी.
What is your aim for doing it? So when you talk on those things, that is when you are able to control these issues. तो ये external हो गया. Internal हमारे elections होंगे और उसके बाद भी आप देखना, there will be a lot of push for creating disturbances and instability within India. उसको आज तक तो NIA has been doing a wonderful job quietly. अगर आप न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते रहोगे तो almost every month somewhere or the other the raids have taken place and a lot of these anti-India elements have been arrested. So this will continue and you have to continue to be strong on that. So that is how you will, by doing all this, you will break the US ka Thucydides trap. They are wanting to put the world island into a Thucydides trap कि लड़ते रहो, कि आगे एशिया बढ़ेगा तो एशिया को ही लड़वा दो तो एशिया उठेगा ही नहीं. बाकी जो मानते नहीं है, चाइना तो मानेगा नहीं, पाकिस्तान मानेगा नहीं, ठीक है, ईरान कितना मानता है पता नहीं, मान भी ले न माने. अगर रशिया वहां से निकल आ जाता है जहां से फंसा है तो ही विल बी एबल टू पुट प्रेशर ऑन ईरान. ओके, सो सर्टेन डिग्री ऑफ स्टेबिलिटी, और अपने अंदर आप स्टेबिलिटी रखो और ये सब करोगे तो भारत का नाम थोड़ा ज्यादा ऊंचा आएगा. लेकिन मैं तो ये कहा था कि भाई आप बढ़ते हो क्योंकि यू आर राइज इज अनएडेड बाय एनीबॉडी. यू आर राइजिंग ऑन द रेसिलियंस, द स्ट्रेंथ एंड द इंटेलिजेंस ऑफ द पीपल ऑफ इंडिया. भारत के लोगों ने ये भारत को राइज दिलाया है. बाहर से किसी ने आके आपको पैसे नहीं दिए, कोई टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं दिया है अलग से. तो आप राइज करोगे. राइज करोगे तो मतलब आप, मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि 230, 40 या 35 से 45 के बीच में नेशनल सिक्योरिटी स्ट्रेटजी ऑफ यूएस विल पुट यू एज ए कॉम्पिटिटर.
जी.
और 1945-47 के बाद जब आपका काफी राइज हो जाएगा, ही विल नेम यू एज अ चैलेंजर. ये याद रख लें.
जी.
तो हमने इस तरह से ग्रो करना है, चाइना जैसे नहीं, एडेड, अपने अनएडेड आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनना है. इसीलिए कह रहा हूं सक्षम, सुदृढ़, सक्षम, समृद्ध, सुदृढ़, बार बार कह रहा हूं. आपने जो आपके इंटरनल और एक्सटर्नल सिक्योरिटी के लिए जो बजट देना है वो देना है, जो खर्च करना है वो खर्च करना है. ये मत करो कि मैं इकोनॉमिकली स्ट्रांग होऊंगा फिर दूंगा ना. आप इकोनॉमिकली स्ट्रांग नहीं हो पाएंगे. आपको एग्जाम्पल मैं दिखा रहा हूं, डिसरप्शंस करने वाले हैं, इंटरनल डिसरप्शंस, बाहर भी डिसरप्शंस. सो योर मिलिट्री हैज टू बी स्ट्रांग, योर इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी apparatus हैज टू बी स्ट्रांग. उनको रिक्विजिट बजटरी सपोर्ट मिलना चाहिए उनको ताकतवर बनाने के लिए. तभी आपको वो एक सिक्योर एनवायरनमेंट जो दे रहे हैं दे पाएंगे. आप समृद्ध बनोगे, यू विल बिकम इकोनॉमिकली स्ट्रांग. सो व्हेन यू आर रेजिलिएंट, आत्मनिर्भर एंड इकोनॉमिकली स्ट्रांग, वो आपको चैलेंजर बोले ना बोले कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता आपको, क्योंकि आप किसी और पे निर्भर नहीं. ये आपको देखना है. तो इसीलिए आपको अभी आत्मनिर्भर बनने से पहले आपको अपने बेट्स को हेज करने पड़ेंगे, फैलाने पड़ेंगे, किसी एक पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं होना.
Mr. Gamer, thank you so much. He says, can we say that this is the end of globalization? Also, the right wing ideology, governors in governments in extreme left countries can be a solution to this instability. Can these governments challenge the deep state with them and outside?
So, taking it first by first, no, globalization is here to stay. Whether you say India first, this first, you are dependent on resources from outside. जो पुराने जमाने में अपने आप को सॉवरेन कहते थे, मतलब sovereignty implies that you dictate the policy for your country. Today that doesn't hold true, क्योंकि तुम as a country, due to the new technologies that are coming up, the resources for the new technology all countries don't have. The raw materials you don't have, you've got to import them, get them from outside. So when you're doing that, it's globalization, there is interdependence. So here, when we talk of resource security, it is not resource security inside. You must have your investments outside to ensure that you have resource security. Plus, गवर्नमेंट बाहर है जिसके रिसोर्स के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है, आपका भी अपना बंदा है वहां पे, मगर वो अगर पॉलिसी चेंज करता है, इट अफेक्ट्स योर फंक्शनिंग, पैसे बढ़ जाते हैं, इट इम्पैक्ट्स यू इकोनॉमिकली. सो literally, actually, no country is sovereign. Everybody is dependent on others. The degree of dependency may differ, but there is, so that kind of globalization will be. Right-wing ideology governments in Europe will break European Union. And once European Union breaks, then automatically the deep state का control कम हो जाता है यूरोप में, because it was controlling Europe through European Union. To the MEP, the European Parliament. अब वही टूट जाएगा, एक एक करके आप देखते जाओ. That will be the impact of the Ukraine war. EU टूटेगा तो other states become strong, na? Then you can take care of the deep state if they is trying to interfere in your areas.
जी. Sandeep ji, thank you so much for your contribution. Aadi Saab, thank you so much once again. He says, sir, military options in Bangladesh to avoid Islamists to take over. Imagine terror launch pads in the ECA and RC after Islamists take over.
No, you see, Sheikh Hasina is going to come. Islamists can't take over. Once if Sheikh Hasina is there, they won't take over. The army is there.
What
Military
after her?
options, other than, see, you always keep your options open. I won't say you don't keep your options open, but at the moment it is not going to happen, and you won't get terror launch pads there. So CAA and NRC will be there. It will happen. CAA to abhi policy, I think in the next couple of months it will come out. वो तो act हो चुका है आपका. It's been cleared by both the houses and the president. So the policy framework, everything has been done. The legal people have been through it, sifted through it. Any day now they will announce your implementation of CAA. NRC has to be there. But I don't see at the moment, in the near to medium term, terror launch pads and all from Bangladesh. It never was, even during Sheikh Hasina's, Khaleda Zia's time, even when BNP was, you had terror launch pads on the other side. You didn't have terror launch pads this side. Yes, there would be infiltration from this side. There were no launch pads to launch. A launch pad means from there he launches terror attacks into your country. That was never there even earlier. When is Khaleda Zia and BNP are totally with the Jamaitis. So let's be very clear on that. They have always been. You never had launch pads.
Anil Saab, if you see BRICS plus countries control the Indo-Pacific and the Arabian and Red Sea, it's time to say goodbye to Uncle Sam from the region.
BRICS don't control you.
BRICS don't have anything.
To claim that you are controlling, I don't think so. At the moment, none of them control. What is Chinese footprint in Indian Ocean region? Zero, yeah. What is their footprint in South China Sea? पहले तो वही बता दो यार. Indo-China Sea में क्या footprint है? Other than the normal things that he does. Zero, yeah.
Actually, we should stop calling it South China Sea. It's going to be called Indo-China Sea.
It's Indo-China Sea. So क्या है? उसका नेवी थोड़ा घूमता है. That's about all. रेड मार देता है. Otherwise, कोस्ट गार्ड आ जाता है. His aircraft carrier is still scared to come out into the open. So I don't think so. It's not going to be easy to get Americans out. So I think I would only say let's avoid wishful thinking. Yeah, maybe towards the end of 21st century, if you have been able to stabilize yourself, if you have been smart enough to curb other areas. I've already told you the two jokers in the pack are Pakistan and China, or rather I should say Pakistan Army and the CPC. They are the two jokers in the pack. Maybe by the end of the century, the CPC may cease to exist and better sense will prevail. What happens to the Pak army towards the later part, I don't know. But till then, these two jokers in the pack are there. But बाकी area को अगर आप control कर लोगे, maybe the influence of the US will start reducing, and that's why I said 2040 and beyond, he will look at you as a challenger, because you will have a dominant footprint. I won't say a military footprint, but a diplomatic presence and a footprint influence over major portions of the world island.
Guys, मैं अगला सवाल पढ़ने से पहले यार, we can, I'm sure with 1800 people almost watching, we can always cross 1000 likes. इतना तो कर ही सकते हैं. So please जरा जिन-जिन ने नहीं करा है, please करिए इसको. Kumar Gopalan ji, he asks, from an attack on the sea by Amakos, why is USA so silent in spite of their patrol? क्या
वही तो
बोलेंगे?
बता रहा हूं मैं. आज तक 2 शिप हाईजैक हुए हैं, दोनों को इंडियन नेवी ने सेव किया, एंड इंडियन नेवी इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ देयर फ्लैग. व्हाट हैव दोस जोकर्स डन यार? Nothing.
Nothing. Bhattaji asks, if the entire world is being destabilized, are we sitting on a tinderbox waiting to explode, or will it be a slow barbecue? And when will we see a new order setting in?
Oh, whether it's the old order or the new order, they want this tinderbox to be there.
Yeah.
They want it to be there. So it is for us to make sure that this tinderbox doesn't go aflame. That's the challenge that we have. Firstly, that we should not be aflame within the country, and see how you can manage and stabilize. And that's what I said, Tushnim warfare. You can't be sitting inside today in America, in India, and say that I'm defending India. No. Because it's just a tinderbox all around. You got to manage the flames, get your escalatory control matrix in place. And that you can do only through Tushnim warfare.
Adinath ji, MBZ roadshow in India, your views? Damn good.
Oh yes, अच्छा है यार. You need people like him. UAE has, by the way, has got a lot of say in North Africa. Got a lot of hold in North Africa. So to control the escalatory matrix there, you can work through UAE.
Even
MBZ has a lot of say.
Okay, breaking update, sir. The Aditya L1 has entered its required orbit. So congratulations to ISRO and everyone else.
Yes, ISRO. Thumbs up. Well done.
Fantastic. Problem ji, thank you so much. Sadar Pranam for spreading awareness. Modi ji has been successful in invoking nationalism among Bharatiyas. Due to this, the West is very uncomfortable. That's a good observation, sir.
I would always say this. More than nationalism, I would rather say Bharatiyata amongst Bharat.
Yeah. What Modi Sahab has done is nothing else but started a conversation. ठीक है. उन्होंने conversation
start
start
करी है. Now they have started using the word Bharat. And the latest book of EAM is called Bharat Matter. Why Bharat Matters?
I am very pissed off, sir. 5 तारीख को मेरे पास पहले मैंने Amazon पे लगाया, प्री ऑर्डर करा हुआ था 1 तारीख को मैंने कि आएगा कह रहा आ जाएगा 5 तारीख को डिलीवर हो जाएगा. अब कह रहा अगले थर्सडे को आएगा. मैं यार
Why Bharat Matters?
मैं बोला I thought मैं जरा सैटरडे शाम को बैठ के उसको मैं जरा लपेट दूंगा. But I just can't.
That is what breaks the hold. US का में अभी भी old state has a lot of hold. It breaks their hold. The whole narrative falls flat.
SN sahab, these conflicts spread across the globe must have taken some years for the preparation of the US deep state. How many years ago US could have assessed and started implementing this plan?
Maybe about a decade ago. As China also started rising. That's why you say would have turned the other way when China created problems in the South China Sea by creating those islands and all.
Might I kind of have a little difference, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
I don't think they've actually thought about this very well. I see their reactions very knee-jerk. They're not very well planned.
No. They would have looked upon it for quite a while.
They probably
planning, of course, is different. Planning different hota because you need experts.
Ji.
But when you look at the wokeism, extreme leftists, uh, merit doesn't matter there, has no value. What values is you are part of their thought process. So over a period of time, what has happened is you have average to below average to implement them. So while the larger picture you may have seen, but to start implementing it, you don't have people available. That is number one. Number two, the people others themselves have fallen into the trap, and it's an endless cycle.
जी.
And you stoke both sides. The woke stoke the Hamas side, and the others are stoking the Israeli side, and that has come up. यूक्रेन एंड रशिया का तो क्रीपिंग फॉरवर्ड तो कब का चल रहा है. We may say that the actual battle has started from Feb 22, but if you look at it, it began in 2014. So धीरे 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 धीरे, that's why I said about a decade ago they have put into place, and then suddenly what upset them was Modi coming to power and then retaining power, and then suddenly finding that their woke champions have just fallen by the wayside. So Baki bhi to are as much to blame na. Why are we blaming only the deep state? Why did the others bite the bullet? So that's the way it is.
Rao Sharma ji, why is it India always been hesitant over the years, pointing out the West double dealing in many of our affairs? Perhaps our weak position all along can or should our position change now?
Hasn't it changed? EM to openly bol deta hai. Have you ever heard any of our EMs talking like this? Our prime ministers also would bend over backwards. Yes sir, 3 bagfuls sir. ये तो मुंह पे बोलता है उनके यार. अभी तो डरते हैं इससे लोग. पूछने के लिए डरते हैं कि थप्पड़ पड़ जाएगी हमें.
Charlie, hello, Aadi, great discussion as always. How important do you think is helping diverse Indian population understand threats and work towards a terrorism-free India? Any steps by the government?
Yeah, that is why I say we have to become Bharatiyas, be together, respond in a mature manner, not in haste and anger. Government is taking the steps. Like almost every month, you must be finding reports in the press quietly.
Yeah.
NIA has arrested so many people with this happening, that happening. And I'm not talking of ED arrests. Huh? I'm not talking of ED arrests. So that has to continue. And I always talk of Bharatiyata, being a Bharatiya, and Bharatiyata. Bharatiyata means country first for you, yaar.
Always.
Baki jaye bhaad mein, yaar. Country first for you. That's it.
Somebody is here wanting Biden for 2024.
उसके खुद के पार्टी को पता नहीं कि वो प्राइमरी जीतेगा कि नहीं. उसके खुद के अगेंस्ट केस चल रहे हैं यार.
You know, honestly, sir, I need a minute to digest that. I just need a minute. I need to meditate and think about it.
What is highlighted in the woke press is more of Trump. They're not highlighting that Biden and his son are also facing God knows how many charges. यार उसके ऊपर भी केस चल रहा है.
Terrible.
Sitting president.
Nilesh ji, how do you see changes after the US elections? If they reach the election, may I ask? If they reach the election and if the peaceful thing happens.
Peaceful होगा कि नहीं हमें पता नहीं. We've seen what happened last elections. So this elections also, whether, like I told you, it is both the old and new state. The aim is one: continued US hegemony in the 21st century. That is their bottom line. How you do it, manner in which you do it is where it will differ from the old state and the new state. Okay. But aim is simple, and the main challenge, not China. China to वो बोल रहे थे. Main challenge is the Asian century. You read their write-ups almost from beginning of the 21st century, 2005-6 से शुरू हो गया था. Rise of the Asian century, Asian century, Asian century.
And Obama by 2009 had started saying pivot to Asia.
Yeah. And all this pivot and everything is not for anything else to cut the Asian century to size.
Manjesh ji, thank you so much. He says, USA deep state being so difficult, can we have some alignment with China theoretically?
Really? Devji, really? Really? CPC ke saath? If you're talking Chinese people, I am all for it. Help them overthrow the CPC. Not with CPC. Yaar. He's as bad as your deep state, yaar, if not worse. डीप स्टेट तो उसके साथ मिलके तो तुम्हारे लिए सारा स्याप्पा कर रहा है, जो ओल्ड डीप स्टेट है. तो व्हेन यू से चाइना, आई लुक एट चाइना एज चाइनीज पीपल. Yes, theoretically, I should be with the Chinese people and give them all the help to overthrow the CPC. That could happen in the long term. You never know. It might go into a civil war again. It could happen.
And sir, last one for the day, trivia by Venki Saab. World of the world in current. Entropy.
बिल्कुल एंट्रोपी हो रहा है, आग लगी हुई है सब तरफ.
Absolutely. Sir, thank you so much for this particular talk. मजा आ गया. Actually, it was quite a this thing. I'll have to watch it again. मेरे को थोड़ा देखना पड़ेगा because I mean I have to kind of monitor a couple of things. So बीच में एक दो चीजें I have got a little foggy. But I need to kind of watch this again. Normally मैं देखता हूँ, but ये मेरे को थोड़ा notepad लगा के देखना पड़ेगा. So thank you so much for that, for giving me homework for the evening. Guys, please join us. Join the channel at night where I've done a pre-recorded show with Dr. Geeta Kochar on Mr. Jayashankar's visit to Nepal. It's a very important thing. Please check that show out. With sir, I will try and मेरे को sir से एक कतर का मेरे को करना है. So I will try and catch sir sometime. And firstly, I'd like to thank, because sir is also not well. So thank you for taking out that time. But Qatar ka sir, you have to explain it to us, because I know one thing, I'll be able to take out more from you in that particular show than you spoke.
Okay, because that would have to be on 13th, 8th to 11th. I am out of station.
Chalega sir, no problem. We will figure this out. And iska karna hai because we'll be able to actually debate this region a little harder.
Yeah.
So maza aayega usme. Thank you so much, sir, for spending this
debate
afternoon.
It region by region what it is.
Actually, we should do that. We should do that, sir. Guys, what do you guys say? Put in your comments and tell us you would like to go through the region by region. Let's talk Africa. Let's talk Asia. Let's talk, Europe. Let's talk America. Let's talk all these regions. We can go through them. हमारे लिए भी it'll be nice for us to go through the geopolitics. And what do you guys say? So please put in your comments and share your thoughts. Till then, Sirji, thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you. Jai Bharat.